Welcome back to Tactics Talk with Guido. Thanks for tuning in. I do appreciate your support. On this episode, I have a replay sent in by Thylacolio from Clan IOC in his Thunderbolt Tier 6 American Medium Premium tank. This is a tank I don't own. I do have the Fury, but this one's got more of the E2 front, being a pretty decently armored Sherman. He has loaded into Malinovka, and we are about to see one of the rarest of beasts in captivity. And that is a pub match that has some random and spontaneous team play appear out of nowhere. And for the most part, people are actually civil about it. There are a couple times where I'm going to have issue with what people are advising, and a couple times at which they're typing when I think they should be fighting. However, I will caveat that by saying at least they have a plan. And the saying goes, you've probably heard it, that a good plan executed violently right now is most often better than the perfect plan executed too late. So let's see how that works out for Thylacolio's team. We'll call him Thigh. Immediately sees a T20 going crazy. A little bit of a gunnery issue right here. Not enough lead fire on that guy, and he actually gets down and behind there. The 3485M hangs out by the rock, which irritates me to no end. There's no reason for a medium to do that, but he does. Couple 3 TDs hanging out on the cap, or near the cap, and now we've got a scout raging around in the middle of the T-37. The Hellcat's taking a position up on that hill, and the rest of the tanks are moving out. He's got another T-37 who's gone up the hill itself to try to get some eyes on, and the 43 is aggressively pushing as well. Right off the bat, we do have a bit of an issue as we're headed up this hill because we only have a couple mediums going that way. One of them happens to be Thigh, and he's way back here. Thigh, I don't know if you noticed this, but there's an SU-100 hanging out right here. I don't think you can actually quite... Yeah, you can. You might have had a shot if you'd have just stopped real quick and popped one off. You notice it late, and he's already backing down off of that hill. T-20 still trolling around down on the west side, on the southwest. And there goes the 3485M, and he's going to get salty. The 43 is saying, hey guys, move. Now, he understands, it's only me up here. I need guys up to help me. One of the problems with early lights on this map is often you'll get people stopping, kind of like Thigh did a little bit. Now, valid if you've got a shot, go ahead and do it. But always remember, there's an initial position that you want to get to. That may change based on how the situation goes. But in general, you've got to have somebody up on that hill, and if that's the direction you were going, keep on trucking that way until the situation warrants something significantly different. The Churchill 7 is, that's not a great spot for him, but that's where he is. The Hellcat's hanging out in the bushes, and they've got a Cromwell B who's pushed up underneath him, and that is a dangerous spot for someone to be from the enemy team because it just lights the living snot out of everybody sitting down there. So getting rid of that Cromwell B would be a priority. This map is interesting. It's a wide open map. People call it campy. You've got a lot of TDs in this game, so you're going to find a fairly stalemated situation as soon as they knock out this Cromwell B. Thigh's team has already lost a couple small tanks, one of them being one of their scouts, the T-37, so that hurts. Now this BK-2801 has got himself hit. He's trying to get away. He's down, so there's another one of the enemy scouts out of the way, which leaves the enemy with no actual scouts, just a few TDs with decent view range and one medium being the, what do we got there, 3485. So Thigh's got some shots. Man, I do not like getting up on this ridge. It just begs to be wrecked. The good news is they don't have anything with lots of view range, so you're probably safe. But yeah, I would be very careful about driving along. Oof, yeah, this... When I saw this, I just cringed. I knew the game was longer. The replay was longer than you dying right here, but you very well could have by exposing the side of your tank here. This is just a positioning and maneuver decision on how you got up the hill. You had lights on guys and shots potentially, but you could have probably done the same thing right behind you over here and then been able to dive down and out of the way without just completely being on top. Get a T-25 2 lit. Your scout and your T-34, or 43, sorry. Your scout and T-43, that was a nice shot, by the way, are up there lighting things up. If you don't do that, if you're a player that doesn't shoot into guys who just went dark and you know they probably haven't gotten out of your range or out of your area where you're aiming, add that to your kit bag and start doing that some more. Oh, do not highlight yourself up here, man. That's not good. That is not good. If there was another TD hidden where that T-25-2 is, you'd have been seen. So come up behind the bushes, get in the bushes and do it. So how we doing here as far as that goes? Yeah, man, you're just, wow, you're lucky that their TDs are so far back in the hole that they can't see you right there. Still, good decision to get up on the ridge and start to help. I'd just be in that bush right there. And this is kind of where the discussion's going to start. There were a couple things said already. Sue 100, Thighs asking the 43 to fall back. The Hellcat comes in and says he can't fall back. Of course, no one's talking to the Hellcat. What's interesting is no one's really been talking to the Hellcat the whole time. He's just been yapping about how he's sniping. Got it, dude. You're noted. You're a TD hanging out in the back sniping. Okay, very good. But now Thigh and the 43 are having a bit of a discussion here. He says 43 fall back. 43 says I can't. Thigh, that he was never going to be able to fall back from that position. He's trapped behind that rock right there because there's about 87,000 TDs hanging out in those bushes right down below him, plus the arty and all that other stuff. But all right, you asked him. He said he can't. You said good. 43 says wait him out, and then you ask him, what do you need me to do then? And the Hellcat wants everyone to know he's got a camo net. So the 43 says, you know what, just hang out for the moment. I'm fine for the moment. Let's see what we can do. Now Thigh's going to move up to the next bush, which I thought was a good idea initially. And I would have poked my nose in like you did right there, taken a look. Okay, two things here. The Su-152 says, let's get this called up. Look, guys, no one has any scouts right now. Just chill. Two things about that. One, true. And it would have been really nice if one of their scouts had lived. One of Thigh's scouts would have lived. For you scout players, that's why we need you to live past the first third or 2 minutes or whatever it is that you end up living usually. So that late game like this, you can start moving around and looking for guys. That being said, scouting isn't necessarily just a type of tank. It is a tactic to use, and depending on what you have left, you may have to use somebody else to do scouting. The 43, the Thunderbolt, the other medium that they've got running around. Do they have? No, they don't. I thought they had another one. Even TDs, depending on the situation, can do quote-unquote scouting. So yes, having an actual scout would be nice, but the tactical situation dictates that somebody else do it. What else was said? Hellcat is still talking, and then the 43 is salty that the scouts died. And we're getting some pretty good teamwork here. We've got a few complaints going on. That's fine. What's nice is nobody really gets into a flame war here. I'm already paused, but let's just discuss typing in while playing just a little bit right here. Make sure that while you're trying to do this whole I'm a general teamwork thing, which is fine on the face of it, that you're not spending so much time typing that you're not paying attention to what's going on in the game. This game right now is fairly stalemated, but in the middle of quite a few scrums, that Hellcat, for example, was typing instead of being careful, shooting, looking for shots, manufacturing shots, all that stuff. So just be careful about that. I'm not really casting aspersions at anyone on this team based on that, but that is always something that I'm a little bit worried about when I see someone who's very type happy. Like, all right, well, how much are you paying attention to the game, and how much are you paying attention to yapping on the typing there? But going pretty well so far. So we got a bit of a stalemate like I talked about, quite a few TDs on both sides, and some guys saying, hey, you know what, just hold on for a second. Let's see what's going on. All right, good plan. I agree with it. But now, this is where, when I start doing tactics talks and I'm talking to a specific player, it's at this point in a game or in a match where I say, all right, dude, it's time for you to take over. All right, you are in your Thunderbolt, decent tier, medium tank, decent vision, not great, but decent. Let's start figuring out how we make this match progress. How do I help make this game a win, vice just sitting back and letting it happen to me? All right, back to the action. Thigh is hanging out in this bush, and this is a perfect example. The Hellcat wants everyone to know that he's got the view range now. So this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. This bush is nice. It's a nice bush. Look at it. It's nice and fluffy, and it keeps me pretty well covered up. I like this bush. It's a special bush. You know what, dude? The enemy is down here. This bush works too, and it's a little closer. And you know what? There's actually another bush over here on this ridge. You can actually drive up into it, and it works even better because it looks down and gets a little higher and sees down into these bushes down here. It may very well be you wouldn't have seen a single thing, but you weren't trying. So get up, get a little closer, keep using the bush like you're doing. But there are several places closer to the enemy where you could actually take a looky-loo, and you might light one of those guys up. And that's where, in this part of the match. You light up in one of those TDs or two of those TDs, and everyone starts shooting at them, and it breaks open. It starts to cascade at that point. All right, so let's get going here. Ooh, yeah, I wouldn't have done that. Everyone in the world knows somebody is up in that little spot. If the Artie had been watching, or maybe they're actually talking. Artie isn't doing much. Sue152 says, I beg to differ. Apparently he's been getting bombed. Back to knocking down the tree right there. Their team can be talking too. All right, this is interesting right here. 43 says, can you guys counter Artie? 152 says, I'm going to poke the ridge again. And the 51 comes back and says, they are counter Artie, and they're hitting two of us. Meanwhile, I don't know if you noticed, but the T-43 has been clicking and telling the Artie where the enemy Artie are firing at him from. Now, it's probably a pretty good guess that it's back in this area back here. But let's say it was a place where your Artie wouldn't necessarily know where they are. At least they know the azimuth is up and down the 0 line, because the 43 said, dude, I'm getting hit by those guys down in this area down here. And that's great. If you have artillery and you want them to try to counter, not a lot of artillery do it, but if you want them to, if you have an idea of where they are, and there he goes, he just said, look there, G0. So fantastic. I think they're on G0. If you want the artillery to try to take out their artillery and you know which way you're being bombed from because you get the directional arrow now, go ahead and tell them. There you go. The more they hit me, the more I'll show you where. So this is great. These guys are talking. They're trying to figure it out. Thigh, again, I think you should be moving up, getting a little closer in there. Now what starts to happen is you start to see this AT-7 moving in. And he's a nice armored, thick kind of TD. Unfortunately, your Su-100 got spotted and knocked out, but he was down there in that southwest corner and got counterattacked. There you go. S-51 takes another one of them down. 3485 is kind of out of position. That leaves 4 TDs and 3 Artie hanging out in this area. You know the Su-100 is probably somewhere around that hill right there. And here goes the AT-7. This will bring up another, and once we see it, I'll show you their thigh, another reason why you probably wanted to move left with your vehicle anyway. All right, there you go. So we got a JPZ lit, and now everyone and their mother is firing at it. And down goes the JPZ-4. You know where the Su-100 is, and you know somebody's closing in on where he is, so be ready for that. There he goes. T-43 is still hanging out. SU-152 is moving back towards the cap, and AT-8 is actually moving up through the middle down there. So now you're starting to gain map control. And there's that, what I was talking about earlier. He's on the back side, and you had to know that's where he was. So you actually have shots at him from over here, whereas you do not from over here. And you're going to look at this AT-7 who seems to be coming out, but meanwhile, I think probably the priority would have been to take out this dude, and you can see that if I was over here in this bush, I'd have definitely had shots at a guy on the back edge of that, and that's another reason for being slightly left in this case. Couple shots, didn't happen. Gone to gold. I think that's a good idea. The AT-7 is taking him on. The 43 has charged after the AT-7, and you're just late to the party right there. That's something you have to watch for when you're being careful, I'll say. Let's call it that. Not necessarily passive, but hanging out is... Sometimes the team will start moving before you notice it, and then by the time you notice it, you're a little late to support. That 43 had got down in there as soon as that AT-7 got in, and the reason he did that is because they're all worried about the AT-7, and it was time for him to get up there and start looking for shots. And here you go. This is fantastic. Shoot the snot out of the AT-7 in the side. Gone to gold. Just dropping damage in on this guy. There's another one. One more. Someone else kill him, or do you? Can't remember. There you go. That's that skill I talked about, guys, early on. He knew it wasn't going anywhere. Just take that shot. There's no need to send 5 shots that way, but one more isn't going to hurt anything and often will result in a kill or another piece of damage. Good news for your team is apparently the Saint Emil has been AFK the entire time. So that was absolutely a help. Had he been up there, he may have been thumping guys, and that thing hits hard. But you take what you got, kill them off. Dang it. A little bit rushed on the M4. I do that too because you're thinking, man, I need to get here and start shooting because otherwise I won't get a shot on him. Yeah, I don't really care about that. You probably would you probably had a good chance hitting the 43, but end game, whatever. Even if I'm in the 43 and somebody goes for the shot, I don't worry about it too much. 43's moving in. We're going to find that guy. Where is he? Where is that already snot? There he is. Nice juicy target. Got one more hit on him and down he goes. So nice job, man. 4 kills, 1,000 damage. No spotting. Everything you did was on everyone else's spotting. But the rarest of beasts, a bit of pub match team coordination going on. All of it relatively civil. All of it moving in generally the right direction. Even though at times I disagreed with a little bit of what people were saying, at least it was a plan. And everyone was more or less on board with the plan, and that was actually pretty cool. So thanks, Thai. Thanks for sending that in. A good example for us all about how we can, at times, help influence a pub match. There used to be a guy out there, I can't remember who it was, but he always talked about pub whispering, which was that kind of subtle, just give some clicks on the map, or maybe a word or two, or a couple directions early on without acting like you're in control of everything. And sometimes you can really get everybody more or less moving in the right direction. All right, I hope you like what you saw. If you did, make sure you subscribe. Keep on supporting the channel as you all are. And as always, we will see you.